Okay, we are here tonight to learn about bees. My name is Rama. So this is my husband, Ron.
There's a swarm. Is that always a new queen?
Yes, always with the swarm. And with the swarm is usually to overcrowding
Or they're not happy with the queen.
Or they're not happy with the queen, and they'll swarm.
Okay, so what makes a new queen?
The worker bees will actually form a cell in the bottom of the hive, and they will feed her and get her all ready, and then when she comes out, she will fly out of the hive because the other bee is not going to allow her to stay in there. Only can be one queen.
Yeah.
So when she flies out, they will swarm out with her.
But not all of them, right? Just a percentage.
Usually about half of the colony will swarm with the new queen.
Kind of like splits in the church.
Exactly.
So,
But
this is God's bees at y'all's shirt.
Yep.
Right there.
He should know y'all.
Praise God.
Is that honey? Brood.
No, the brood. We're gonna get to that, but the
Okay.
brood is babies.
Okay.
Yeah, the brood is the babies.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's the way they refer to baby bees. Is brood before they hatch.
Okay, I thought you just said brew like for beer.
No, brood.
Okay.
It's a different
BROOD.
workshop.
Within 3 months, it should be starting seeing a lot more activity over here.
And for those of y'all who don't know, what he keeps looking back at is
We have
the
an
hive.
active hive. A live hive is what I call it in the back corner over here.
The bees that he's talking about are in the back corner. Yeah.
Yes, that is the swarm that we're talking
That
about.
white box.
That white box is the beehive.
Right.
So the basic thing with honeybees is everything that we put in our mouth comes from their pollination. If we did not have a honeybee, we would not have any fruit-bearing trees. We would not have flowers. We would not have even trees that produce nuts.
Mm-hmm.
These are very important things to our dietary, and if we didn't have them, then like over 1 billion of the population would decrease in just a few years. That's how important they are to us. Honeybees are super important. So the funny thing about them is they don't live very long. A honeybee's life cycle in the summer is usually 2 to 6 weeks. In the winter, it can last up to 20 weeks. And that's because they're not having to go out and forage and be in the danger of getting eaten by other insects or, prey. So, and there's not a whole lot for them to pollinate during the winter either. So normally they'll live off of their own comb and honey that they've saved. That's one of the reasons that we're not going to put a honey super on this hive this year, is because there's not enough bees in there to maintain their survival if we did that. We need to know that queen is laying as many eggs as she can. Each frame is full of brood and honey before we would even think about going higher. Something else so the queen, let's talk about her for just a minute. The queen is the structure of the hive. She is very smart and intelligent. She designs everything that hive does. She knows the distress of the hive. She knows what she needs to put in that hive. The funny thing about it is she makes up the genetic makeup of every single honeybee in a box or in a swarm. So if she wants a female bee, a worker bee, when she goes to lay it into the cells, the honeycomb cells, she puts it in there and she'll add, I hope this doesn't offend anybody, she'll add sperm into the honeybee cell, and that makes the female. If she doesn't want a female, she will actually not put the sperm in there, and it's the male. So the male bee is called the drone. The drone's purpose in life is to mate with the queen. That is his only sole purpose. And he does nothing. He doesn't forage. He does nothing. He doesn't work. And he
plays
does
video games all day.
He doesn't play.
He plays video games all day. That's what he does. The drone is he mates with the queen in flight. When the queen mates with the drone, she kills him. So it's kind of like a Black Widow situation too. Once he fills her with the sperm, she actually injects her stinger. That's why she can't sting you. but she actually injects her stinger inside of him, and it kills him, and he falls off, and then she's impregnated for the rest of her life, able to lay up to 2 to 3 million eggs in a 5-year span.
Oh my word.
Yes. So she's pretty busy. On an average, she can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day. So if all of those get planted right, she's got everything structurally laid out inside the hive, then she doesn't have to worry about anything. She knows, like I said, she knows the genetic makeup of each bee. She knows that if the colony is lacking in comb producers, she knows what that bee needs to do, and that's the genetic makeup of the hive. She does everything herself. She knows the sex of them. If she doesn't choose, the drones are really they're kind of pointless except to mate with a queen, and the only reason that they allow them to stay in the hive is because they know that future queens, like if a hive was going to split, they know that future queens are going to need to be mated with, so they keep them around, and that's really the only reason that they do keep them around. All other bees in a colony are females except for the drone, and well, the queen is, of course, but except for the drones. They have so worker bees have roles that they have to follow. They have to clean the hive, they have to take care of the babies, they have to build comb, care for the queen, store honey, forage, pollinate, and feed the male bees, which are the drones. And in their lifespan, they do everything in phases. They don't just come out and say, oh, we're going to fly off to pollinate. That's actually the last phase of their life is what they do. That's their last sacrifice to, what I would say, their last sacrifice to the world before they die. So there's 4 phases. Phase 1, they clean. They clean the hive. They clean everything in there that's not supposed to be in there. They clean out dead bees. They even clean the cell they emerge from. So when they come out, they eat their way out of their cell, and then they clean it out for the next baby to go inside of it.
Wow.
They are usually in there for 21 days before they hatch. The next phase, they do this for about a week, cleaning cells. That's what they do. Phase 2 is called the nurse bee mode, and what they do there is inside they feed the babies. They make sure that they're doing good, and we actually do have some photos I'll show y'all in just a second. It's on a frame, it's kind of cool. But they go in there and they clean they make sure the babies are okay, and then they cap them with wax. And this is at the larva stage. And then, like I said, they stay in there for 21 days, and then they emerge themselves out of it. This usually takes about a week life cycle to do that. Phase 3 is their 3rd week of life, and they are the handyman. So if there's anything that needs fixing in the hive, they're the ones to do it. It's not the drones that do it. Remember, the drones are pointless, they're purposeless, they do nothing but mate with queens when it's needed. A lot of the things that we've noticed personally about our hive, the worker bees, when they do come out in this phase 3, they are building comb, they're coming in and out, they have pollen sacs on their legs, which is called a crop, right? A crop. Yes, I wanted to make sure I said that right. I knew it started with a C. So it's a crop, and they go out and they collect all the little pollens, they store them in the sacs on their legs, and if you ever want to come over and just watch this hive, you'll see them fly in, and they'll have the 2 yellow sacs on the back of their legs full of pollen. They also usually have like a stomach full of nectar too, which is kind of interesting. They're really busy guys. Girls. So they'll fly in there, and when they land on, this is the entrance of the hive, when they land on here, they actually regurgitate what the nectar that's inside of them into another bee. That bee will turn around and add an enzyme to it and transfer it to another bee. That bee adds a little bit of an enzyme and transfer it to another bee, and at that point, usually about 3 bees later, that bee will chew on it a little bit and put it into a cell inside the honeycomb. And then they wait for the pH to get right. And really all that is the water to evaporate out of the honey. And then they'll cap it over with wax. So while all this is going on and they're out there foraging and everything, one of the things that a bee typically does not do is die in its hive. They usually leave the hive when they know it's time, and they go somewhere to die. They don't want to. To me, it's another cool gesture, like, hey, I don't want to burden you with funeral expenses, you know. So, well, if I do die in here by accident, they will take the bee and actually walk them to the edge and drop them off. The dead bees. So, I mean, they don't really have a whole lot. If it's not the queen, they don't care. They really don't. So another thing we noticed too that is really unique about honeybees is that queen is the center of their world. They don't know anything else in life but that queen. She is like, I'm jealous of her because at my house we have so many bees. They actually will form lines right across this entrance here. They'll form lines down the side, around the rim, and their little wings will just flap, 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 flap. And they're actually making a hive conditioner is what I call it. So it's her air conditioner, her own personal fan. And if you put your hand down at the entrance, you can actually feel the cool of the wind going in. It's really interesting. So phase 4 is usually 40 to 50 days into their life cycle. And what happens here is this is kind of where they're preparing to die. So they'll go out and they'll pollinate as much as they can. They'll bring as much as they can back to the hive. And then, of course, they'll fly away and die. And if, like I said, if they do die in there, they do have bees that actually have that specific roles to eject the, you know, get out of here, you gotta go, sorry. But, so, all right, so this is kind of cool because I wasn't planning on doing this, but I am. You want to help me with this? So we actually brought a vacant hive, and I do have some frames that I'll show y'all, and I'll kind of show you like where it starts. So if y'all want to just pass this around, this actually is the diagram of the bees, okay? So these are the only 3 bees that I'm going to talk about in this hive because these are usually the only 3 bees we have to talk about in this hive. The top one is your worker bee, that's the female. The next one is the queen. She's a little longer over here, and her wings are usually flat against her back. She doesn't fan her wings except for to put out that special little aroma to let them know what they need to get going on inside. And then the bottom one, of course, is the drone. The drone is bigger than the female bee, a lot bigger. This is kind of like an almost just a little bit shrink this down, and that is almost like an actual size if y'all want to pass that around and look at it. So inside, we'll show my frames in a second. So this is the inner lid. The reason that you have an inner lid for a hive is because when they start building inside of these frames, they always build from the top up and they work their way down. So the reason you want this inner frame is because if you was to have just this on the box, when you go to lift it for hive inspection, you're gonna snap the honeycomb in half and you're gonna separate it, which is gonna cause either the bees to fall down into the hive or it's gonna just put a lot of extra work on. So the best thing to do is to put one of these on top, which kind of makes it to where they can't build a whole lot of comb in between that space. It does make the box a little more secure, and I think they like it a little better with the inside hive. So, real quick to let you all know, the way that we started our hive is we actually ordered a package bee. Okay, so what that came with is one queen, and she's in her own little box. Inside of her own little box, there's a candy plug on the end of it. So it's a little wood box made out of the same type of material here, and then she's inside of like a nuke with screens so they can breathe and everything while we were transporting them. And then there's a bottle of nectar on top of it for them to eat off of if they're hungry until we get them transferred. And then of course you have maybe, I'd say close to 10,000 bees in that package. Yeah. So that was the package that we ordered, and they run about $135 to $140 for a package. That's a queen and 4 pounds of bees is what they told me I was getting. I don't know who weighed them, but you know, we'll say 10,000 because that sounded more. Yeah, there was. So what he did was put the little wooden box. You take it out. She's in her own separate compartment, and you would remove one of these frames, and you would want to sit it like down.
And it wouldn't have this. Would not be in here. It would just be an empty frame, and either set it down on the bottom or you take it, place it in between 2 frames, the little
So it
box
could
she's
hold
talking
it.
about.
Yeah.
So it would
That
hold
has
it
the
up.
queen in it.
And the candy plug is so that they can get used to the queen and accept her. You know, that's why she's enclosed, and it takes them about 3 to 4 days to eat the candy plug out. And
At that point, they've accepted her as their, you know, you're welcome here. Come on in.
And after 3 or 4 days, they either accept her or they don't. You know, but it gives them a chance to smell her pheromone and get used to her and everything. So that's why the candy plug.
And then he takes this box that's got 10,000 bees in it and shakes it. And you just pour them into it.
Pouring.
Yeah, but really you
Pour
have
'em
to
in
shake
there.
them because they're not coming out willingly.
Because they go. Shoom,
Yeah, and they just
big
pour
mess
in
of-
like a clump of, just pour right in there. And then, like he said, you know, there's 2 things that could happen. They could kill their queen and make their own virgin queen. Which has happened.
Virgin queen is she will not mate in a box.
She has
come
to
out
come
to
out
mate,
and fly.
and hopefully she'll come back to the same box.
Yeah.
So, you know, if she's a virgin, they fly out to mate, and hopefully that she'll come back. So, you know, you can buy a mated queen. Ours was mated, so she was ready to lay. So we were good
Now,
there.
I got a question
Yes, sir.
from when you said they make a line to enter this slot in the bottom.
Yeah.
Do they come back out the same way?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
they do.
This is the entrance. This is where they come in and out. A bee only needs like 3/8 of an inch.
In between these frames, they can
Yep.
stay this close together.
See.
Y'all are welcome to like walk around and look at
I'll
it.
hold it up like this so you can see.
But this is how they look inside.
Yep.
That bee can actually maneuver, even with honeycomb drawn in here. They can still squeeze through and get to
That's
where
when
they
you
need
pull
to
that
get.
frame out for
Yep.
honey.
Yeah, when you
Yes.
check it, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And see how I got a little gap here. You keep it pushed up, keep them tight over here, so that when you do open it,
You have
you
room
can take
to
it.
slide
you
it
have room to slide them, take
over
them out
to
as
check
you go.
them, so you don't break the comb
Yeah.
up so much.
Yep. Then when you put them back the same way they came out. You know, so they'll repair the honeycomb. Like she said, they're busy.
That's all they got to do, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's all they got to do.
So this is a frame, and I kind of made these little pictures on it just so you can kind of see that this is what it does look like in there. Y'all are welcome to pass this around if you want to. But this is a queen, and you can tell by her body, she's much longer, and this actually looks like the same queen that we have in that box.
Yep.
Our queen at home is a little bit darker, and she has a few lines on her, but this queen that's in the box, so I do feel like they're 2 different types of queens just because of the difference. It's
Yeah.
not
big
that,
size, but-
she's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
This one is, that one.
Yeah, the queen
Then
in this
our
box
queen.
looks like that queen right there.
Yes.
Color wise.
Yeah, because we've actually seen her and played around with her a little bit. So what they're doing here is she's just walking around, kind of like, they do what they call an introduction flight when you first place your bees into the box. And what that is kind of like they're going to come out and fly and try to find what they're looking for, what foods they want to forage on. They'll come back, they'll do a little dance at the entrance to let the other ones know. They have 2 different types of dances. One is called a waggle, and what a waggle is to let them know that they found something really good. So they're just kind of happy and they're wiggling.
Figure 8.
Yeah, and then when they do a figure 8 pattern, when you see a bee on the entrance and they're walking in a figure 8, they found a special source that they really like. They're like, hey, this is where the good stuff is over here. So what it is directions, because they can't actually talk to each other. They don't, you know, communicate that way. The way that they communicate is through their wings and their dances. So, and we've actually seen them do all this stuff. So it's pretty interesting. So this is the queen, and these are the worker bees all around her. And this looks like it might be a drone because it's a little bit bigger. So what they do is they build comb. This is actually a drawn out comb. So it's a lot easier for them to do it. The reason that the honeybees use a hexagon shape is because there's more room and it's got more sides, and it just gives them a bigger area to work with. If it was circle, it kind of wouldn't form right for the way that they need it to go in here. Then on this side, this is kind of like the next phase. On this side, this is honey. So here, when honey's ready, they cap it. And that means that the pH is right in it. When it's not ready, they're still waiting on like the water to absorb and the moisture to come out of these, and then they'll cap it over. Once it's capped, honey will never go bad. Researchers have said that there's honeys from hundreds of years ago still around. So honey does not go bad. not go bad. It's always good, but it's
now it has a different taste in different regions, right?
it does have different tastes for different reasons. The reason is their food source, their pollinating source, the flowers that they're with. If a honeybee was out with clover grass, then that's what you see, the clover honey that is sold in the stores. Local honey is kind of the best honey, to be honest with you, to get, because it helps with seasonal allergies. We all have allergies, you know, pollen, whatever it is. They go to this flower, to that flower, to that flower, to that clover. So I can't really call mine wildflower honey, so, or clover honey, you know. So it's really, there's not a technical name for the honey that you buy. Me personally, I would want to call mine clover wildflower, because that's what I actually see them doing all the time. So I guess I could name it that, you know, because in the stores they're just putting a title on it.
They also establish flight paths to water sources and stuff of that nature too. So I mean,
and they can fly up to 20 miles per hour. We did actually research this a little bit better, and they also can travel 5 miles. Up to 5 miles to go, and they do this daily. So when they set out in the morning, they get the whatever pollen or nectar that they want, whatever they found that they like, and they bring it back to the hive.
One single bee covered like up to 5,000 flowers in a day.
One day.
In one day.
It will land on up to
possibly
5,000 flowers or plants in a day.
What?
On the front side, that is the actual queen where it starts. The other side is where they're starting to produce the honey. And then you go to this phase here. These are the eggs. So these little lines here, there's one little tiny, it looks like rice grains inside there. And they stay in this phase for about 10 days. And then
they turn into larvae, which is on that picture.
yeah, it's also, there's larvae.
Right.
Oh yeah. Okay. So then after 10 days, they start looking like this. And they actually look like little white, yeah, I got one right here. Yep. So when you pass this around, you can look at them. This is the second phase of the gestation phase is what I call it. And then this is actually pollen cells here.
Stored pollen.
And yes. And then on this side is the cap brood. Now what this is this is where the larva is covered up by wax, and at the end of the 21-day cycle, this will be the babies coming out, and they'll actually eat their way from this cell all the way out. So I'll pass this one around to you too. And then so before you open a hive, just kind of jumping around a little bit here, I never said that I would have this perfectly planned, but this is a smoker. So what this does is you can use anything. They say pine needles are the best. Different sources tell you to use burlap, which is a good source for calming the bees down. So we actually have some stuff in here. So if we was to burn this and this was an active hive, like tomorrow we're going to open our hive and do some inspection on it at home, because I just feel like we have too many bees. We have so many bees. So I think we might even bring some and add them to this box. So we'll see what happens when we get it open tomorrow. But you smoke it just a little bit when you take the lid off of it, and it calms the bees. It also moves them. It gives them like a direction to travel in. If you had a swarm and they were landed here, you could actually smoke them into the entrance of the hive and they would go in there. You can actually purchase a hive. My daughter, on Father's Day last year, she bought my husband his first hive. And when she got it for him, it came these are called pre-drawn frames. When we started opening this one, we had to actually put we took these out, and we took the honeycomb that was in there, kind of sporadic, and we added it to the middle here, and you take rubber bands like we do have on those, and you can actually add the comb to the inside of this where it's hollow and put straps around it, or the rubber bands, and it'll hold it in place. That's how you split a hive too. So if you had a good hive going and you had a bad hive that didn't have a queen in it, you could actually hopefully get a queen and put her into this hive, and then you could add some of the brood. You would have to add some of the brood from your functioning hive over to the hive that didn't have any babies in it, and they could grow off of that. They could like maneuver themselves into, their own colony.
Where do you find the queen?
You can purchase queens, but 9 times out of 10,
okay,
you're going to
have
have.
Out of that hive or what?
You can. Now, that's a bad sign though. one of the things you don't want to find when you open your hive is a queen celling. That's a bad sign, because that either means that your queen is not doing what the colony feels like she needs to be doing. So they're going to swarm, and that's probably the reason that the church got the swarm, is because somewhere, somehow, this hive our colony wasn't producing and doing the things that it needed to do. So they had a little bitty cell down here at the bottom of their frame, and they said, hey, that's a queen, let's make her a queen. So once she hatched, she flew out, and they flew out behind her to follow her. 9 times out of 10, if they're unhappy, they're going to swarm. Overcrowdedness, hive conditions, and that's some of the typical reasons that they do swarm. Yeah, I mean, like, hive unhappiness is basically overcrowdedness. They don't like that. So that's the reason we want to open our box, just to kind of see what's going on with it, because we have a ton of bees. Like, we have a lot of bees in it. He actually built this box today. Oh, cool. So that's just how quick you can put one together. He actually built this box today. You know, just basic. It's kind of neat. I like it.
You get a
anyway.
kit?
Huh?
You get a kit to the mail?
You can get a kit in the mail.
Yes.
Or you can buy, like I said, my daughter had ordered him one for Father's Day, and that's when we kind of knew this is what we're doing last year. So that's where our journey started. Now me, I kind of was raised, I was not interested in them. He got my passion going for these bees. Like, his passion became my passion, and it's kind of like just something that we both really enjoy now. So anyway, bees can fly as fast as 20 miles an hour, and they can also flap their wings 12 to 14,000 times a minute. A minute. So that's some heavy duty air conditioner that they apply for the queen over there.
So
oh, let's talk about this, because a lot of people have the wrong impression about bees. Bees are not aggressive creatures. They are not aggressive at all. I could walk over there right now and stick my hand and scoop some up and bring them over here and show you. They're not going out there to sting you. They do not come out of that hive and say, oh wait, there's a person, let me go over there and sting them. They don't do it. They're more scared of you, and they're more scared of what you're going to do to them. They're not going to chase you down. You don't have to worry about it. I've been stung one time, and I learned a huge lesson about it. Always check to make sure that your arms have no bees under it before you put them down. Especially when you just opened a hive, because that's the only reason that I got stung by that bee, is because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, not him. I put my arm down, and of course they're going to fly around you, you know, and one thing to remember is never swat at them, you know. That's when you swat at them, you're putting off a pheromone, and then when they start smelling that, then it's, you know, they smell the fear on you, just like a dog can sense you're scared, you know, you're scared of them. So that is a myth, and I'm going to tell you, a bee does not aim or live its life to sting you. Matter of fact, it wants to get as far away from you as fast as it can. So, and it, yeah, because they don't want to end their life. Once they sting you the first time, it's done. It is done. When they sting you, that's the end of their life. They will die, I think it's within an hour. They're gone. So, you know, their purpose is not, because they want to worry about the queen. They just want to make sure that she gets everything she needs. They're, like I said, the only purpose in their life is that queen, you know. And then to talk about her just for another second, she knows everything. Like, say with our hive, this is the funny thing about it. She does like an analyzation all the time. She'll get in there and analyze what's going on. If there's not enough comb being built, you know, produced that she thinks that needs to be in there, that's the egg she's laying next. Hey, I need one that's going to focus on this. I need one that's going to focus on pollinating. I need a male to make sure that queen cell down there gets fertilized. I mean, she has the whole intention for this thing right here to be successful. She's very smart, she's very thoughtful, and she puts everything in a process that she works out every day.
I have a question.
Yeah,
how long will it take for that to produce honey that you can actually take out and eat?
Great question, because one of the things about honeybees is a lot of people get involved because they want the honey.
Right.
One of the things that me and my husband typically don't believe in is feeding a hive. were here millions or years ago, and they did not have somebody walk out there giving them sugar water. So one of the things that we're doing with this one is we are supplemental feeding, just because of the size of it.
So small.
So my hive at home, the one that I have, I probably have close to 30 to 50,000 bees, I would say, in mine. So with that, I could produce honey as early as October, but key factor, we're gonna let our hives go through the winter on their own the first time. So I wanna know that those 30 to 50,000 bees can successfully live in these cold conditions and survive. A bee will not spread its wings to leave the hive at, is it 53 degrees? 54 degrees. They will not leave the hive. They will not fly. They won't go in flight. So anything above 54 degrees, they will. So you have to think about all the time they're going to be stuck in there. We just want to make sure that they can make it.
They survive off of honey through the winter. That's it.
Yeah, so they eat their own honey during the winter. So that's one of the strong beliefs that I do have in them, is to let them survive their first winter. If they can do it, then we know that we have a strong enough colony that we can start pulling honey off sometime next year.
Yeah,
So
we're hoping to see, like I said, a little more bees coming in and out of here, within the next month or so, and hopefully we have to determine, because I really don't want to go back in there and disturb them right yet, because they're still going in and out. Like I said, I would like to see a few more bees. It doesn't seem like she's producing a whole lot right now.
And of course, we opened it like less than 21 days ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
So they would start hatching the new ones, because we actually seen the brood and the cat brood and the larva in there. So we know there's a queen in that hive, and we know that she's doing what she's supposed to. She just might not have enough worker bees to keep things cleaned up and cycling in there.
And
so
she may not be a very good producer, I mean,
she might.
She swarmed out, and maybe something I don't know. Maybe she's not like ours. Ours. I mean, we got to multiply. We double.
We have a super queen.
Yeah.
Well, all families are different, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like I said,
We trade with you.
there's a lot of activity. They're coming and going.
Right.
But I just hopefully within the next month, maybe that we'll see a lot more bees over here than we are at the spring. Yeah, they're still going in and out. You see them going in with the pollen, and like my wife said, you see them standing at the entrance still flapping their wings. That's telling you that they're trying to keep the queen.
But they like this pine? Is that what you said, or?
They like
Use
the
the pine
pine.
to
The pine. It's not really that they like it. You have to understand that when people smoke bees, it's to calm them down forcefully. So you're basically putting the smoke in there, and you're telling them, "Hey, you're fixing to calm down." It's kind of like us getting a spanking if we're not doing what our parents are telling us to do. So you kind of like usher them with this. This is our whip, and we're like,
Right. With all of these vegetables starting to bloom and stuff.
yeah, it's good. The bees being over here is probably going to make it's a benefit for both. It's not just a benefit for the garden; it's a benefit for the bees.
Right.
That way,
Because it gives
rust
them
leaves
plenty
will
of
come
food
over here
sources.
and pollinate.
I'm sorry?
Like, they wouldn't do it while we're here, but like in the evening when there's nobody around, they fly out here.
Actually, after their busiest time is going to be anytime the temperature is above 54. But when the sun is out, at night they sleep. They're like
Okay.
they're going to be in that hive. They'll have a few entrance guarders there, just people to kind of watch and see, make sure no ants are coming
But
in.
they live on the
Once
same
the
kind
sun
of
goes
schedule
down,
with the
They
sun.
do.
In the box.
Okay.
And we've watched a little bit of their flight path. They're actually going past the garden, so that's okay for now, because they might have found something on down the road.
Probably a water source, more
Yeah.
than likely, that they're comfortable with. I believe that's what most of them do. And another time they stay closer in is when the nectar's not flowing as well. Like right now it's springtime, so there's still everything's out. They got a lot of things to choose from.
Yeah, they do.
But when there's not as much out there, they'll be closer to home with all the blooms and keep you going through the summer. You'll see a lot more of them in here.
If you want
want
to, attract bees to your natural garden, lemongrass is a really good. Like if you just want to see the bees come up and kind of land on your plants and stuff like that, put lemongrass out. They love lemongrass.
Oh, that sounds
They really do. They love
good.
lemongrass oil. They love lemon seed plants. They love it. That's one of their favorites.
I've noticed I have a lot of lemon balm.
Oh yeah.
And,
So
and
yeah,
See a lot of them?
that's their
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
And that stuff grows like crazy.
What do you call it? Lemon balm?
Yeah, the lemon balm.
That's what's
They
happening
really do
there.
like the lemon. Matter of fact, they told us if we wanted to, which we're interested in, we're going to try to do a lot more rescues because I feel like there's so many bees that need home instead of paying for them. It's kind of like adopting a dog. You just go out and get them and you save them, you know, instead of purchasing some, you know, you're putting money in somebody's pocket for something to be landed on that tree right over there, you know. But that's one of the things we really want to get into. I want to rescue bees. That's my biggest interest here, is because all a swarm is looking for a home. They're just looking for a safe place to be, a place to live. They don't want to cause any damage. You know, they're here for us. And I think it's very important for us to take care of them and maintain them. Anytime you see a honeybee or you see a swarm, try to contact somebody to come and get them. I mean, there's plenty of outlets. You could call all the way down to the Gwinnett County or whatever county, animal control, and they could help you find somebody to rescue them.
And doing your part, if you have honeybees on your property, don't spray Roundup.
No.
Or any chemical, really, if you can help it. I think we Googled it. It was like within a 2-mile radius. It can land on them and kill them.
Yes. And they could, even the mist from it would kill them. And then they could take it back to the hive and destroy the whole colony. So Roundup is really dangerous. Any kind of sprays, pesticides, don't use. They're really bad. I think the best thing to do is if you have problems with ants, I could just give you a couple of pointers. If you have problems with ants or outside bugs, beetles, roaches, anything like that, try the diatomaceous earth. Because what that is it's actually other insects with the same type of body that's been grounded up, and they walk through it, and when they do, it pierces their skin and it causes them to dehydrate, basically. So that's the safest way, because the bee does not have a the bee does not have a beer. The bee does not. The bee doesn't have like a crustaceous body. They're soft and gooey, so the diatomaceous earth is really safe. And then of course over here what we do is we put Vaseline on the iron legs, and it keeps the ants from climbing up the poles and getting in there, because that's something that can really destroy a colony, is ants, hornets, and wasps.
Yeah.
Beetles.
Ants are after sugar, so
Yeah, so they're definitely gonna be a nuisance all day long. Any more questions?
John has a question.
You know, the combs that you have in there, some of them are used for honey.
Yes.
Some of them are for nectar. Some of them are for brood. Do they go through cycles where it's honey one time and then they use it for brood?
They will reuse the cells. They will. So what they do is the nectar from their stomach, once they regurgitate through the whole list of family there, they'll put it in there. And once they use that cell, that's where the worker bees will come in and clean the cells out. That's what they do. They clean up the cells. A lot of the worker bees, she has the different sets of bees that do whatever, and then they'll reuse it. Sometimes they'll even put the egg in something that was a honey cell before.
They're always using honey. That's the
So when you're down the road, your hive, whatever you do it for honey, how do you tell the difference between the brood and the honey and the other ones?
Good question. So what the difference is, actually, I can tell you too, is honey is going to be capped white. So that frame is going to look white.
Is that the wax?
Yes, that's the wax on top of the honey.
And that's when the hive gets too crowded, right? When all of it gets filled with...
Yes. Once it gets full, either with brood or honey, then you take another box and put it on top. That's called a
And
suitor.
then they automatically go to that.
And then they'll start going up. And you repeat this process to about your third box up. At the third box, you want to put a queen excluder, because you can't just keep building up to the sky. So what you have to do then is you'll put the queen excluder in about the third box, and that keeps her. These are all brood boxes now. So this is where the bees are being hatched, laid, and developed. And then the queen's excluded, and then everything above here, the bees will still go through and build comb, but they're only storing their food source in them. So that's where the honey harvesting comes from.
Amazing.
Yes.
A drone male, the cap will be a little bit higher. higher.
Any more questions?
These are pretty much level with the comb.
Are there any predators other than the ones you
Dropping somewhere.
mentioned, like animals?
Yes. So anything that likes sweet, especially bears, anything that is hungry enough will eat a beehive. And I've watched some videos. It's devastating. Somebody on one of my Facebook threads that we're actually members of the bee association in another state. They actually have a lot of bears, and they just rip their hives apart. They tear them. They break all this wood. They eat the honey. They devastate it. But believe me, unless there is substantial damage, meaning the queen was killed, they can recoup, and they will.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, because they're very self-reliant. I mean, you don't have to. If the queen is still in the colony, even if they're on the ground, she's gonna find them a place to go. So, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take a walk over to the bees because I want to have them on camera.
Honey up until you get like this, and you